Good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are joining from. It'll be great if you're live here with me today. It'll be great if you can share in the chat where you're joining from and any social media handles you'd like us to connect with you. Okay, as you can see on the bottom there, okay, I have like my little tag there. It says @Funguli. That is my Twitter handle if you want to reach out to me at any point. Okay. And my name is Melissa Aveling or Mel A. Now, I have already run this session, okay, on a Tuesday evening a few weeks ago. Okay, if there are no live attendees today, I will end it, okay? So I will do a quick intro and do a couple of things, but if there's no one here for this one, I will end it, okay? Because I already have a session basically on the same thing. I'm just going to feature some different projects today. Okay, so quick introduction. So my name is Melissa Aveling. I'm a mathematics teacher here in Cali, Colombia at an IB school. So I do not work for Edpuzzle. Okay, I'm just someone that enjoys using it, and I am a coach or trainer, I guess now, but I don't work for them. So, you know, whatever I say here is just my opinion, some advice and things like that. Okay, so let's get into it so we have an idea of what today is about. So basically today, it really is about some best practices and about like how to set up your own class. Okay, so to go in a bit more detail, I am going to do a check on the projects from the last session. So like a week ago, those that attended the live, some people did submit a project, which I will feature and go over and talk about some of the good practices that we used in those videos. And then if there's anyone in the live, we'll have a discussion. I'll go over the analytics, talk about how to add classes, and then have a Q&A. Just let me know in the chat if you are joining so I know whether to continue this after I showcase the projects, okay? All right, so what I'm going to do first is to show you a project that was submitted during the last session and talk through what was added, what's good, what could be improved, if anything. Yeah, okay, so who are we going to feature first? So I'm going to show you now. This is my Edpuzzle dashboard. So I'm going to go to my Edpuzzle Basics class and then click on the project here, your first video. So from last week, we had a project submitted from Manny and also from Nagam. So it is Nagam's birthday today, so happy birthday to her. And hers is one that I did look at recently. So I'm going to just click on here so you can see what the project looks like. So it does take a bit of time to load sometimes, depending on my internet. So I can see here what she's used a YouTube video, and I can see at the bottom here there are various key points. So she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things throughout like the 3.5 minutes of her video. So I'm going to play it and you will stop and see a couple of things of what she's been using.
Do you remember understanding the first?
So it's really good. I really like this, that Nagam, she's added a note right at the start saying it's like a continuation after a past video. So she's saying like after covering Newton's first law of motion, the video can be found here. So know that in notes you can link things, whatever, okay? In this video, we're going to cover the second law of motion. So it's like a follow-up. So it's like, oh, did you forget the first law? Here's a link. You can go back to there now if you want before you start this video, which I thought was fantastic. Really good to have that at the start there. And I'm just going to press continue.
Do you remember understanding the first law of motion with a simple diagram? If the forces are balanced, the acceleration will be 0. In the first case, the object will continue to remain at rest. And in the second, the object will continue to stay in motion at the same velocity and in the same direction.
Okay, so in here, Nagam's added an open-ended question. So it's saying state Newton's first law of motion in your own words, and you can type whatever you like in here. So I can type something, or press submit, and then I'll say continue.
Don't forget, these two cases will remain true only if the forces are balanced.
So I've got here, okay, so it's a multiple choice now. Okay, so what should this be? is the object moving, rest, or at 0? I can say, okay, I think it's at 0. Let's check this out. And woohoo, I got this correct. And I like that she has put here, there's some feedback for these 2 questions. So if the student did choose another option, they would have seen like why it was wrong. Okay.
Only if the net force is 0.
I'm just going to skip to the next question to see what she has here. So she's put here an open-ended question. On which 2 factors do you think the acceleration will depend on? And you can answer with audio here. So I like that she has that freedom for this one. So the first one was like you had to respond in words, like writing, but with this one you could type it or you could answer with audio. So I'm just going to type something random just to see if there's any feedback. No, okay. And I'm going to skip to this one. Let's see what she's got. She's got another multiple choice in here, which is great.
Mathematically, it can be written.
At the end, she's put a note saying like what's going to happen next. So I think this is good, like I did say, for the project to include like a note, open-ended with some audio, and also the multiple choice. And the feedback, I think she's really put, it's great that she's put that for the multiple choice questions, but the suggestion to improve for this one would be that for the open-ended questions to put some feedback for those 2. So that when a student, because with an open-ended question, students don't know if they have it correct or wrong when they enter it, because we have to manually grade those. Because, I mean, obviously, what the students enter, we don't know if it's going to be exactly okay or what we're expecting. Anyway, but once they've entered their response for the open-ended, I showed this in the last session, they could see some feedback just to say, okay, did you mention these key terms or did you mention those things or whatever? But that's the only thing really that I would suggest for Nagam's video, because, I mean, she has like a beginning and an ending really with the notes there, and then some multiple choice and open-ended put in throughout to check for understanding. For mine, at the end, I do like to put like a reflection question to see like whether they think they fully understood what was going on, if they do have any general questions. But that's me, and everyone has their own preferences. Okay, let's see. Oh, Nagam actually came in. It's her birthday today. I did not expect her to come in, but hello there. Anyway, welcome Nagam, nice to see you there. So basically with the students' work, I can go and say, I can check if there's any comments here. So I can say, okay, for me, like I'd written a comment here myself. I'd said, you know, great work, you know, anyway, but that's you, like as a teacher, you can go and put this yourself too. And with Manny, for example, he just wrote yes for his. So I can grade them as well, and I can say like what score I want to give them and any like extra comments I want to give for the particular thing. So I might give, for example, Nagam like 90, because I might say, okay, it would be great that you could put feedback for the open-ended questions, you know, something like that. I'm doing this live anyway, so I don't need to type it, but just be aware that if you do want to give feedback on a project, that is what you can do. Okay. All right, so that is the project. So I'm very thankful to Nagam for submitting. Manny also did submit a project, but he did not actually really add anything. I'm going to show you what he put here. So basically, if I play this, he just put a note here. He's like, oh my God, I love Mo Willems. This is one of my favorite books. But for the rest of it, he did not add anything. So I would say, okay, Manny, I'd probably ask you to go back and try it again. So you have an option with the projects basically to ask the students to resubmit. So if I go back to my projects, I'll scroll down to Manny's, and with these 3 dots, I can say make student retry, because Manny's only put a note at the start. He hasn't really done any editing. He's just very excited about this book. So I might say make student retry, so they'd have to resubmit. Okay. Anyway, there you go. That's a brief overview of the projects that were submitted in the last session. So what else are we doing today? So we were going to have a discussion if there's more people in the chat. I know it's just Nagam here, and I don't want to force her to participate if she doesn't want to. But yeah, I was going to go over the analytics, like how to add a class basically, and then any questions and answers. And I do have some new tips and things that Edpuzzle has recently introduced that I do want to show you too. Okay, let's see if there's anyone else writing stuff in the chat. No. Okay, so basically, yes. So the next part is about the analytics and the classes. Okay, so we do have a couple of options of how to do that. So yes, we checked out the projects, amazing. Okay, so we have a few options for assigning videos, and I'm going to walk you through these, okay, live. I'll share this slide deck with you later, so don't stress out about it, okay? But yeah, so I'm going to share my desktop again. So in here, I can decide to assign any video I like. I can add the content from here. I can, whatever, there's lots of different options, right? So let's just say I go to my content. I have a video that I really want to use with my students, and I want to assign it. How do I do that? So we have a couple of options. So I can say, okay, I just check on whichever video that I like. Could be one that I created or one just from YouTube, anything. And then at the bottom here, you see I have the option for assign. Okay, so I will go to there and click assign. And here you see I have many different options. So I have classes that I've already connected with Google Classroom. I have, you know, the Edpuzzle Basics class that I had recently. When you assign, you can decide to assign to all members of a class, or you can assign manually. If you only want particular students to do a particular video, you can do that too, just to have that as an option. So it can be a class that you already have connected, or you can add a new class. So if I click on add a new class, I can create a new class here, or I can connect to my LMS. Okay, so I'm going to say create a new class, and I can decide whether to make it classic or open. Okay, open is basically anyone can join, but you don't get as many analytics, I guess, as you could with other classes. But anyway, you just enter the name of the class, the description, you choose a grade level. Like for example, for the Edpuzzle course that I'm doing right now with you guys, for those that have joined, I just put higher education or college because it's for adults. Okay, and then you can choose a subject. I put like general education, but you can put whatever your subject is, right? So you have the classic, and then you have the open. So the open, basically the students don't have to have an account. It's just like it's just a quick class just to practice something. It's not something you're going to use like consistently, okay, or constantly. Anyway, there you go. That's an idea for setting up a class. It's very basic, okay? But once you have a class, it'll come up here, and you can decide who to assign the course to, or the video to, okay? No questions at the moment. So the other bits on here, so that's a part about the classes. On the right-hand side, you have the start date, so you can decide like when you want to start the assignment, whether you want it right now for them to do it, or you want to schedule it for later. So there's that option. And the due date as well, you can decide when you want it to be due. The attempts, this is new, okay? You can decide how many times students can do the assignment. And you can choose from 1 to 5 times up to unlimited, okay, if you want the kids to have multiple goes at it. So basically after they've done an assignment, if they want to retry it, anything they got correct, they don't have to redo. Okay, it's just going to get them to retry the questions that they got wrong. So they don't need to worry about, oh, I have to do all of that again. No, they just have to do the questions that they got wrong again. Okay, and usually you turn on prevent skipping, so the students can't skip through. They need to actually watch the whole video, and you can decide whether to turn on CCs or not. Okay. If you are syncing to Google Classroom, you will have an option to post to Google Classroom too. Okay, and once you've done that, you can just say assign, that will pop up here. Okay, that's a general thing about assigning to a class, and whether you make it open or classic or connect to Google Classroom and whatnot. See if there's any questions about that in the chat. No? Okay, so that's for assigning to a class, and yeah, how to create a class. Now we have the analytics side, right? So if I choose one of my classes on the left-hand side here, let's just go to the Edpuzzle Basics. So I can check from here what assignments I have given to my students. So I can see here, okay, I've given these assignments. I can click on a particular assignment to see what people have done with it. So, I mean, if I clicked on the Edpuzzle practice video from last week, that will give me an overview of who has done it, how much they've watched, and what's going on here. So I can see here the different students that participated and how much of the video that they watched, their grade, how many times they've tried it, when's the last time they watched it, whether they turned it in or not. Okay, and that's just by student. And then questions, I can see by question, like a summary of like how many people got it right. So I might think of, you know, which questions I might want to go over as a class, okay, with them to discuss them too. And if I go back, so that's from the assignment view. I can also go to the grade book overall, and that will tell me from, I'll just wait for a bit, it's loading. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat. Yes, you love the attempts feature. Yes, this is new, the attempts feature. It's very cool. Okay, so here I can see the assignments that I've given for this class as an overall and with my students and their scores, etc. So before there was a view like per assignment. So I click on one assignment, I can see all the details for that one assignment. But with the grade book, you can see overall from whichever date to whatever, you can set the dates here starting. If I just wanted to look at today and how much have been done today, I can just set that, or I can set it for whenever. So between these two dates, this is what has been going on, who's been watching what's been submitted, what maybe I still need to grade. So on this view, anything that has the 3 dots are things that I need to grade as a teacher still, okay? And things with like the little timer, that means that it's late. So when the student submitted it, it was after the due date that I had assigned, just as a quick view. Okay, so you can quickly see in here, the lines are about how much they've watched, and then the score is, you know, the actual grade. And you can also download the grade book as like an Excel thing, export it into sheets or whatnot as well. Okay, let's see. Are there any questions about the analytics? No, not at the moment. Fantastic. Okay, well, that's just a general overview so you can see for the analytics, and yeah, okay, and your assignments views are in here. You can see whatever's been graded and completed, how many people have turned it in and whatnot. I could show you my actual classes, but then that would have my student names and I don't have permission to share those, so yes. Okay, so next really, maybe some of you are like, okay, so how do I invite my students? You do have a few options. So for example, I have my Edpuzzle basics thing up at the moment, and I have my class members. I have this option to invite students. So in here, I can copy this link and invite my students that way. Or if I have Google Classroom, I can share directly to their Google Classroom. Okay, that is also a possibility if you're curious about that. But I mean, most people, I guess, as a teacher, you do normally just share it to Google Classroom or your LMS. But if you're doing a class like what I'm doing right now, which is more open, then I just have a class code that I share with the students. I have this link that, for example, I can copy this, I'll paste it into the chat right now so you can see like what this looks like. For example, if you're joining live or seeing the replay and you want to join my class, you can do that and I can assign projects to you and whatnot. Okay, yes. So that's an idea of the content, how to add things, how to assign things, the analytics in general. Here, I'll just come back to the slides for a moment. So you'll see this later, but basically this is a cool GIF here. You can see for each question. I don't want to show that just in case you have the student names and that sort of thing. But yeah, you can see it's specific via the video or via the student name or via the question type for the analytics. Okay, there's lots of things that you can check out through there. And in here, I've also linked a video that you can see with more details if you want to explore more yourself. Okay, so you have the names, the questions, the grade book. And yes, for open-ended responses, that is where you do grade them too. Okay. So obviously we have different ways that you can use Edpuzzle in your classroom. Okay, so whether you use it as flipping your class, which I have done, or as choice board, so it's an option for different kids, for SEL, differentiating, formative, live mode. Live mode I did last week, okay, with you guys. But yeah, there's lots of different options, okay? You can decide how you want to use it. Live mode is what I used a week ago, and you can decide to do it with any assignment you have already assigned. And I did briefly go over that last week. So any assignment that you have running, you can just go and actually assign that as a live. So if I just quickly show that, it's very easy. So for example, I have this Edpuzzle practice video, which is assigned to my class. If I click on that right now, I have this option right here to go live. So if I want to go live with the class with this assignment, I can literally just click on live mode, start live mode, and then wait for people to join. But yeah, you just need to make sure you've assigned the video beforehand, okay? But that's just for live mode for your information. And after you're done with live mode, students in their view, they will see that as an assignment and they can go back over the video in their own time if they prefer, okay? Yes, so I think that's the main thing for live mode. I mean, you can think about how you might use live mode yourself. I mean, for me, if you saw, I was sort of doing it as a warm-up to get you guys into the live. And with my students, I've done it at the start of the year to get them together to understand how to use Edpuzzle and what information they can share while doing an Edpuzzle themselves. The projects I did, well, sort of demo this in the last week. Basically, students can either upload their own video or use YouTube. And yeah, I mean, I sort of already demoed this. It's just a reminder how powerful student projects can be. Because remember, you can add the project as content to your own collection. So I can quickly just show you that. So if I go back to my dashboard here, this is my project here, the first video. So let's just say for Nagams, maybe I really liked her. So with these 3 dots, I can say to save it in my content. So I could actually assign her video with the questions she made to my classes. Because I might say, this is great, guys. Okay, I want you guys to do this yourself. This is really good revision material, really good for critical thinking, getting you to reflect on what we've done this unit. You can use that. You can just say, save in my content and use that and assign that to your students. So it's not just the student just submitting their project to you. You can use it for the rest of your class too. Let's see. No one's saying anything, so I'm going to keep on going. All right. So yeah, there's some different ideas here in the slides about ideas that you can use. I mean, I really just said that already. I'm a math teacher, so obviously, you know, demonstrating how to solve a math problem is great. Yes. Okay, so there are some cool new things that I quickly wanted to demo with you if there's no questions right now about the analytics. Okay, so I went over the analytics side, how to add a class, how to go over live mode, and some bits and pieces about student projects. If I pause there for a moment, do any of you guys have questions before I show you a couple of the new things that have been going on? It's an amazing waiting time. No. Okay. It seems like everyone's okay, whoever's watching this live. I mean, if you have questions later, you can just drop them in the chat or just contact me on Twitter or with my email that I'll share later. Okay. All right. So to quickly show you a couple of the new things. So going back to my main Edpuzzle page, there's some new languages that have been added recently. So if I click on my profile here and on my amazing name, and if I go to settings, in here, I have a thing that says language. And if I click on there, I can choose from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different languages. So I know that a lot of people, maybe you're watching this live or watching the replay and going, well, I really like Edpuzzle, but my teachers, they use Spanish. Okay, all my teachers, they're in Brazil, they're using Portuguese, they're not very familiar with English. They don't really want to use it unless it's in their own language. But so here you have the option to change to whichever language you want, so your interfaces will be in that language. So you don't need to worry about, oh, I need to use Google Translate for everything. No, you can decide on which language you want to use from this list. So Edpuzzle is constantly adding and updating, but this is the most recent update with these particular languages. So I love that Nagam is writing here, Edpuzzle needs to consider adding Arabic to the languages. Yes, that's a huge community, right? There are so many people that speak Arabic, read and write. So, I mean, yes, what a great suggestion. Great suggestion, Nagam. Hopefully people think of that for future and hear that out. The other thing I mentioned was the multiple attempts, and I already demoed that. The last thing is the Edpuzzle screen recorder. So they have updated that now. With the screen recorder, it works with the Chrome extension, and I can pop that into the slides. But basically, this is what it looks like. You have this option to record tab, desktop, or camera only, like many screen recorders. Basically, after you make your recording, your video goes directly into your content on Edpuzzle. So you don't need to you know, if you're using Loom or something outside, having to record there and then add it again and upload it to Edpuzzle, no. If you're using the Edpuzzle extension, it'll go directly into your content. Anyway, so in here you have options to show a countdown and the recording time, which I like to have there, so I have an idea of like how long I'm talking for and the countdown, so when I need to start. So if I say start recording, let's see what happens here. You see my amazing face here. So at the bottom, I have these options and I can move this around, okay, for whether I want to mute myself, whether I want my video to be shown or not, whether I want to draw, whether I want to delete it, pause it, or stop it. And I can make this a bit smaller if I want to minimize just to this view or not. I can see how long I've been recording for. So any time I can just pause it if I want, okay? And it'll tell you recording is paused, blah, 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 okay? And anytime I can press play or I can stop and start again, okay? So one of the new things from here is they have this drawing tool, okay? And in the drawing tool, I can select the size or thickness of my line. So let's just say I want a really thick line. I can decide whether I want to use an arrow or just a line, or if I want to use a green or whatever. So if I just draw on the screen, let's just say, woohoo, look, it's a line. Anyway, if I want to change to an arrow, and let's change the color. Okay, let's say I want to point out the source here. Look. Woo. Okay, so you can decide on lines, colors, the style. Maybe you don't want it to be like super thick like that. I might just put it a bit thinner and be like, okay, this is better for me. Anyway, so you can do that and you can erase. So you have the eraser here. I can erase what I want. And yeah, bye-bye. Bye-bye, erase. Okay, so that's a new thing. I really like that you can annotate while you are recording, which other screen recorders have had for a while, but for Edpuzzle, this is new, so it's very cool. But yeah, that's a quick update there for you about the Edpuzzleness. I didn't realize my face shows twice now. So look, on the Edpuzzle thing, I could close my video at any point I want. So I could go here and say, no, I don't want my video showing there. So you just see my video in the StreamYard, really. But yes, okay, so this is an update for the Edpuzzle screen recorder, the actual Chrome extension. Okay, so, and you can, remember, you can move this around at any point you like, and you can just make it smaller if you want, okay? And so for me, I'm not going to save this, I'm just going to say delete. And they were like, okay, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, yes, I do want to. And I can decide whether I want to restart recording right now, or if I just want to delete and just be out of the recorder. So I'm just going to say delete for now, okay? So those are the main new things for Edpuzzle. So they've updated the screen recorder option. They've added some new languages. They have the multiple attempts now as well. So just for you at the moment. Yeah, okay. So I think that's the main stuff for today. I don't know if anyone has any questions that they want to ask. I know there's only been a couple of people in the chat today, but basically today's session was just making sure you understand, number one, how to add a class, how to assign something and check the analytics, give some feedback to students, know how to enter live mode, add projects. Really, I mean, that was the main idea for today. But I don't know if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. You can ask me later. I put the feedback form into the chat if you need it. And I'll also drop the slide deck as a resource for you too in here. Let's see, you can just let me know if those links work okay for you guys. But yeah, that was the main idea for today. So if you feel like you actually understand, you know, things about the projects and things about, I don't know, the main summary for today. So it was just like analytics, your classes, really making sure you understand some best practices. So keeping it short and sweet, adding notes in there, some options for audio, keeping it flexible, you know, for kids as they respond. But yeah, I mean, this is just an introduction. The main idea is for you to play with this a bit more and to have fun with it, really. Okay. Yeah, so I've shared the link to these slides in the chat for you. So there's various links here from Edpuzzle. And you notice here it says that add the Edpuzzle Chrome extension. So what I was just demoing with the Chrome extension being able to record directly within Edpuzzle, you can do that here. So if you're like, how do I find that? Chrome extension, you can just click where it says Chrome extension and add it to your browser. Okay, yeah, I think that's the main stuff for today. This is my email. Yeah, okay, are there any questions in the chat? It seems like no, not really. So maybe you guys are okay. Yeah, if you're watching the replay, thank you very much for watching, and feel free to share this with others that you think it might be beneficial for. I don't think I had any other questions from others. There was someone that did ask about, can you add a PDF to Edpuzzle? I mean, you could add it as a link into the notes or a question, but you mean as slides or something? I mean, you can screen record your PDF if that's what you mean, but that's the only question I had, I think, in the form the other week. Okay, so thank you very much again, and thanks so much, Nagam, for being supportive despite it also being your birthday, and happy birthday again to you. And thank you for being so supportive. And yes, guys, so hopefully you have a great day, afternoon, evening, Sunday, Saturday, wherever you are in the world. And yeah, have a great day. Okay, bye for now.